Welcome to Saturday Morning Moving the Chains with the Jackson on YouTube.
Hello and welcome to Moving the Chains. It's December 27th. We've got a good show ahead of us. I'm the Jackson, glad to be your host. Today's show will be a little bit shorter than it will usually be, and I will also only be picking games that can make an impact on the playoff picture, whether that be by an actual playoff spot or even affect a seed. So we'll discuss the four most important of these games later, but first, let's discuss this past week in the NFL. To start, let's go ahead and review the picks a little bit. That's basically what I'm going to use as a guide here. Try not to go too long on last week. But in picks, I went 10-5, and I beat Madden by one game. Madden went 9-6 in the picks. It was an okay week, and I kind of flopped on my upset picks, one of them being the Lions and Bears, and that one really bothered me because I thought that I had it, but in the end, the Lions were able to score in the fourth quarter and go ahead. Jimmy Clausen didn't look bad. I mean, they only scored 14 points, but you know, they didn't do terribly. It was okay, as I expected. But they didn't pull off the win like I thought they would. But that's okay. I knew I was gonna be risking a pick there, going with that one. Also, I missed the Chiefs and Steelers. I really thought the Chiefs would be able to get them. That was a game that I watched the full game there. I was tuned in, really watching it, and it was hard to watch for me. I think obviously it was 12-20. It was only a one possession game, but really the Steelers were in control of the game the entire time. Whatever. But let's talk about the best game. The best game was the Monday night game with the Bengals and Broncos, and I was in Paul Brown Stadium screaming like crazy. I wanted to do a show on Tuesday, On Tuesday, I was so pumped up. But unfortunately, I probably wouldn't have had a voice and didn't have much time to prepare to do a show, so we'll just stick to Saturday if that's all right. But that game was, wow. I can't believe that the Bengals won that game. I expected them to flop in prime time, but you know what? The defense showed up. Did not expect that at all. Special teams more than showed up. Special teams, they were the substitute for our offense. Our offense was okay, and luckily Jeremy Hill had a huge 80-some yard run. That was great. I'm also glad I got to witness a Peyton Manning touchdown pass. I'm glad that we won, and I was still able to witness Peyton Manning throwing a touchdown pass. That's always good. I'll always remember that forever. See Peyton Manning before he retired. One of the best quarterbacks of all time. So a lot of props to him. He played terribly, though. 4 picks, as you know. The defense played really well. Special teams, our returns were unbelievable. Just consistently putting us near midfield or into their territory. We probably averaged starting our drives around midfield. So, yeah, that was a great game. Also, the Cowboys locked up the division. They got a big win against the Indianapolis Colts, 42-7. Man, they beat them up. The defense played great. Dez Bryant, he's just a monster. DeMarco Murray had a quiet game, which isn't that unbelievable with him being injured. And, what was surprising is the Colts' run defense isn't very good. But, they still dominated them and made more than enough plays, obviously, to win 42-7. And the Redskins were able to get a big win over the Philadelphia Eagles. That is what ended up help hand the division to the Cowboys. And this was a big win, not necessarily just for the Redskins, but in the NFL. It doesn't matter too much to the Redskins. Maybe it matters for Gruden's coaching job. I'm not so sure about that. But nevertheless, it's always good to beat your divisional rival. And the Eagles, with Mark Sanchez's late interception, give the division away to the Cowboys, though I want to give them plenty of credit to Dallas as they won the division and have played great this year thus far. It was just an interesting week overall in the NFL. A good one, The only bad thing for me personally was having to watch the Steelers win. Anytime I take 2 to 3 hours out of my Sunday NFL day to watch the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to see them lose. Watching them win, and it's against one of my top 5 favorite teams. I mean, the Chiefs will never come near to the closeness I have with the Bengals. That's just the team I've grown up with, as you guys should know by now. If you don't, well, yeah. And just having to watch these Steelers win at any time is hard. But, this can all go away if we win next week. It'll all be all right if we beat the Steelers. I don't know how the playoff picture will shape up if that happens. I don't know if we will have a game with the Steelers or not. I don't want to think about it. I know there's some jockeying around, though, that can happen with the seeds. In fact, the Bengals could move up to a 2 seed, possibly, if the Broncos lose their game against the Raiders, which, probably not. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into our very first topic of this week. And Drew Stanton for the Arizona Cardinals is out indefinitely. They will not have him back this year. Personally, I think that this changes the Cardinals from being a team that's potentially dangerous in the playoffs, and what I mean by that is I think that they would have the opportunity at any given game to beat any team in the NFC. But I don't know if that would happen. I'm just saying it's possible. Any given week, they could beat anyone. But they would definitely not be consistent enough to string together even 2 wins against 2 good teams. They would not be consistent enough to win the Super Bowl, is what I would say. But still dangerous, and this changes them to a team that is going to lose in the wild card round or possibly the divisional round. I don't know how the playoff picture will shape up, but I think that they won't make it to the NFC Championship game for sure without having Drew Stanton. With Carson Palmer, I think that they're NFC Championship bound, possibly Super Bowl bound, possibly Super Bowl champions with Carson Palmer. I think Carson Palmer is a good quarterback, but obviously we're not even talking about Carson Palmer anymore. We're talking about Drew Stanton, and I think that they at least need that kind of skilled of a quarterback to even have a chance to upset anyone. Their offense is just dead, to be frank. There's just nothing there. It's all defense, and you saw what the Seahawks did to them last week with a 35-6 victory. Wasn't even a game. The first half was a game. Second half just got a little out of hand. And let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. This one is about Marshawn Lynch. Lynch continued his defiance toward the media last Sunday when he answered every single post-game question by saying, "Thanks for asking." Here, let me go ahead and play the audio for you so you can get a good idea of how this went.
Thanks for asking.
What's that?
I said thanks for asking.
That's can you take us talk about it?
No, I said thank you for asking. Appreciate it.
Marshawn, can you describe the 79-yard touchdown run?
Thanks for asking.
How about the stomach issue early in the game?
I appreciate you asking about my stomach. Thank you.
Was there any concern whether you were going to play at all tonight?
Thanks for asking. I appreciate it. Thanks for asking.
Okay, so I laugh because if you single out this single event here, if you just take this instance, it is kind of funny listening to him just say thanks for asking for every single question he's given. But honestly, I think I need to address how exactly I feel about this as a whole, and meaning Marshawn Lynch and how he deals with the media. Now, I'm not as upset as some people, especially other media members, but I'm not as okay with it as some people who say, yeah, he gets paid to play football, not talk to the media. Well, the thing is, I wouldn't have a problem with this whatsoever if it wasn't literally in his contract that he signed when he became an NFL player and signed a contract with the Seattle Seahawks. It's in their contracts. It's their job to do that. So they are being paid to promote the NFL by talking to media members. So, it's not that big of a deal to me, and it is kind of funny, kind of gimmicky, if you will. Every week you get to see this new weird way that Marshawn Lynch is going to respond to every single question with, a certain phrase or a certain word even, like, yeah, the infamous yeah interviews. But, like I said, I'm not as upset as some people. It's not really like I care that much. I can go to bed tonight, sleep, without even thinking about it. But yeah, I don't think that it's right that he does this, and that he probably will do it time and time again consistently now, and that's how he's going to get out of fines. Because it is, wouldn't it be nice if at a job your boss or whoever asks you to do something, and you could just say, thanks for asking, and just then don't address anything that they say or anything, or if they ask you, or they literally want to ask you about information on something you've done during work. Your boss asks you, hey, how's that report coming? Did you take care of the important stats that we needed to sort out here? And you're just like, thanks for asking, and walk off. I just don't think that it would work out. So that's really all I have to say about this topic, and let's move on to a playoff topic here, because like I said, this show might be a little bit shorter than usual, simply because a lack of topics, really, to be honest. Because even if there's injuries here or something happen with this team here, a lot of the games don't really matter that much, and it's been kind of a slow news week, honestly. So there's just not that many topics. So let's go ahead with this little topic that I came up with, and I'm just going to rank the top 6 playoff teams. I took 3 teams from the AFC, the 3 teams I deemed to be the best, and the 3 best from the NFC, and then I ranked them all in order as a whole as the NFL teams. So let's start with number 6. This is an NFC team, the Detroit Lions. The Lions, they're kind of weird, They have a very good defense, and there's no denying that. But for whatever reason, this Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson-ran offense has been just pretty bad at times, honestly. I don't know if this is because losing Reggie Bush, even though Joique Bell seems to be a decent backup, they do lose a little bit in the passing game and the running game when you lose Reggie Bush. He's a pretty dynamic playmaker. But yeah, they're at number 6. Let's go to number 5, and it's the Denver Broncos. And if you ask me where I thought the Broncos would be on a playoff power ranking at the beginning of this season, I'd probably say 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the lowest, but I've got them back at 5. They have looked bad. As good as I could say my Bengals did against the Broncos, I think a lot of it had to do with them being bad that game, and them being bad as of the last few games. At number 4, this team, if you ask me where I thought they would be in a playoff power ranking, I would probably laugh, because I wouldn't think they would be in the playoffs, and it's the Dallas Cowboys. They've had a great bounce back. Their defense isn't great, but their offense is, and it keeps their defense off the field. It allows them to be a little more opportunistic, and they're looking good. That's all I can say. And they're looking great on the road, and if they're able to get through some of these home games, or this home game that they'll probably have only one, but if they get through this home game and go on to they're going to be on the road going up against the good teams, which I think benefits them, and because they've been playing amazing on the road. If they win this game, they will be perfect. I can't remember if it's 6 or 7-0 on the road this year, but I think they can be a very, very good playoff team. Possibly a Super Bowl contender. At number 3, I have the Green Bay Packers, and I have them at 3 because I'm not so sure how they will do if they have to play on the road. They're a team that also has had times where they've just looked bad. I don't think there's been a team that has had a dominant year. None of them have. But the Packers have had a dominant year at home. Consistently have just destroyed every team in their way at home. So they get the number 3 spot. At number 2, I have a team that's been hot as of late, the Seattle Seahawks. They're another team that's going to be great at home. You don't know how they're going to do on the road, though I don't think it's as extreme as the Packers. I think the Seahawks are just a good team, and they are overall a better team than the Packers due to their defense. Their defense can dominate a game, and then they still have Marshawn Lynch, and they still have a Russell Wilson who can play well on offense, so They get the edge over the Packers. And at number 1, I have a team from the AFC. You probably know who it is by now. If they weren't in the top 6, there would be a problem. It's the New England Patriots. They have been dominant ever since they stomped down the Cincinnati Bengals early in the season, like week 5, 6, somewhere in there. That was embarrassing for the Bengals. Yet another debacle in primetime, which led me to pick the Broncos on Monday night. Part of what led me to picking them. It contributed to their, their consistency in being terrible on primetime. But the Patriots, they're good on defense. They're much improved. They've got the best cornerback in the game in Darrelle Revis. That's who I think's the best corner. You could debate that, obviously, but I'm going with Darrelle Revis. Revis is my man right now, better than Sherman, better than them all. But what does it really matter? He's not that much better than Sherman or anyone you could bring up who's elite. Joe Hayden, I would say him and Joe Hayden. I'd say Joe Hayden's better than Sherman. I'd probably rank my top 3: Revis, Hayden, Sherman. That's probably my top 3 corners right there. I mean, it's not that much difference between the 3, but there is a little bit of difference, and I think Revis is just such a lockdown corner that you can't put him out of the top 2, and I think it's hard to dispute that he's the best. But the Patriots, without even considering their improved defense, they have Tom Brady. This dude's clutch. This dude's been there a million times. Of course, the Patriots are going to be the number 1 power ranked team right now in the playoffs. I think they have the most sure shot of getting to the Super Bowl. I think that it's going to be a good game against any of these top NFC teams. But I think when you're ranking teams in a power ranking, saying who's going to have the best chance to win their side, their conference, it's the Patriots. I think it's pretty obvious. The NFC is going to be tough. There's a lot of stuff. Seeds are really going to matter there. We already know the Patriots are going to be home all the way to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I'm going with the Patriots at number 1 there. And so with that, that's our last topic for this week. We're going to get into the Big 4 games in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and have a lightning round of picks. Mine and Madden's picks. So let's go through all the games that could have any sort of playoff implications, whether it be seed or whether it be an actual playoff spot. Now let's start with Jacksonville at Houston. Houston must win to get in. I'm picking Houston to win 23-10, but I will say they're going to miss the playoffs. Madden is taking Houston 34-17. Now let's go to Indianapolis at Tennessee. I'm going with Indy 34-16. And Madden also took Indy 20-13. Dallas at Washington. I've got Dallas winning 24-20, even though Murray may sit out, even though other players may sit out, other key players. I think they'll be able to pull it out against the Redskins with that dominant offensive line that they have. And so I'm going with Dallas 24-20, and Madden is picking the upset, or slight upset if they bench everyone, 21-20, both picking close games. Now for Cleveland at Baltimore. Baltimore needs a win to get into the playoffs, and I'm picking them 28-13. Madden's picking Baltimore 16-3. Now, how about Arizona at San Francisco? This is kind of a surprise pick a little bit, and both me and Madden picked the surprise, if you will. I'm going with San Francisco 21-17, and Madden's going with San Francisco 38-9. I just think that that Arizona is not going to have any sort of offense, and it's going to be close, even though San Francisco's not looked great this year. I think they've looked great their last game, and I think they're going to be able to put up enough points to beat the Arizona Cardinals. Now for St. Louis at Seattle. Of course, Seattle is trying to get the division, trying to get a higher seed, and I'm going with Seattle to win 24-21, and Madden's going with Seattle 20-13. And now for the final game of the lightning round, Oakland at Denver. Of course, Denver needs to win or the Bengals to lose so they can secure their 2 seed. And I'm picking them to win 21-13. I think it will be a relatively close-ish game, but ultimately Oakland's not going to have enough firepower I think they're going to get beat down by Denver's defense, honestly. So I don't think they're going to be able to score enough points to hang with Denver. Even if Denver has a bad offensive day, which I accounted for on here, only having them score 21 points. But they still will pull out the win. And Madden, of course, is going to take Denver as well, 31-16. So that'll wrap up the lightning round of NFL picks for this week. So let's go ahead, without further ado, get into the big four picks. Of course, we're going to be discussing the Cincinnati Bengals and Pittsburgh Steelers game last, as the Madden game concludes on screen. But let's go ahead and start with the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, this game is for the division and the number 4 seed in the NFC playoffs. And of course, you probably also know that the winner of this division and this playoff team getting a top 4 seed will either be 7-9 or 7-8-1 at the best, depending on which team wins. Wow. I mean, that is kind of upsetting. I hear they're trying to change the rules, and I'm not so sure I like that, but it's also disappointing when you see a team, when you see teams that don't have a chance to play in the playoffs, while one of these teams will. First off, on the Atlanta Falcons side, Steven Jackson is out, and Julio Jones is not looking good. He's currently listed as questionable, but it's looking like he might not play, so that would really hurt them. Honestly, I don't think either team is very good, but these Falcons have shown signs of toughness, and they've shown signs of being pretty good. And the Panthers, they've had maybe 2 games that I've said, okay, they're not bad. But overall, you can kind of see that neither one of these teams deserve to be in the playoffs. So it's hard to make a case that either team is good. But I honestly just think the Falcons will play much better than the Panthers, regardless of Julio Jones and Steven Jackson. And I think the Falcons will win 24-13. And Madden is picking the Panthers to win 41-33, and in this simulation, Cam Newton had 2 passing touchdowns, 4 picks, but get this, he also had 3 rushing touchdowns and 170 yards rushing. So, even though there were 4 picks there, basically Madden is picking Cam Newton to be the entire offense, throw 2 touchdown passes, probably try to force everything else because he's throwing 4 picks, and then still try to rush for 170 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And you know what? If Cam Newton had a performance like that, even if they lost, wow, I would definitely respect his heart. That's willing your team to do something, whether it be a loss or a win. 5 total touchdowns, 4 picks. I mean, it's not a terrible stat line. The 4 picks, of course, you don't really like that, but if you're throwing 2 touchdowns and having 3 rushing touchdowns on top of 170 rushing yards, I mean, you might be able to let that slide. But I don't think that'll happen. So, yeah, I'm sticking with the Falcons to win 24-13. Sorry, Madden, don't agree. And let's move on to our second Big Four game. This game is a win-and-in deal, and it is the San Diego Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, the Chargers need to win, so they're really going to be putting everything in on it. But Kansas City also can possibly make the playoffs if they win. They need help, but they have to win, and it's possible. Now, there's one big problem here, and Alex Smith is inactive for this game on Sunday. Alex Smith will not be under center for the Kansas City Chiefs. Wow. And honestly, Jamal Charles, as much as I like him, he's on my championship fantasy team. I'm in the championship. I've got to make a huge comeback, but I'm not going to get into that. Probably let you know what happens with my fantasy team next show, but let's not talk about that now. Jamal Charles has not looked great recently. But some of this, as far as how many yards he's compiled as a whole, is partly coach's fault, whoever's making the play calls, because I've noticed they've not given him the ball enough. For a team that has not had a single touchdown caught by a wide receiver, they sure love to pass the ball in a lot of vital situations. And it's frustrating to watch. So, you know what? The Chiefs even have the home crowd on their side, which is a huge advantage at Arrowhead Stadium. And this is a team that I love a lot. And with this backup quarterback, they're likely to give more carries to Jamal Charles. But I just think Smith being out and the Chargers' offense is pretty good. Phillip Rivers has a way to will his team to win. You want to talk about willing a team to win? I don't like Phillip Rivers. I'm going to be honest. He's not a player that I like very much personally. But he's a good player. And San Diego's going to win, even though I've picked every single AFC game that involves a team that needs to win to get in the playoffs. I've picked every single team that needs a win. I've picked them to win. I picked every single team that needs one to win. But it's not going to matter because the San Diego Chargers are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City 27-17. Madden is taking Kansas City to win 31-17. It's interesting, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Now let's move on to another game that is for a division. But this one's a little more interesting. It's not quite as meh as Carolina at Atlanta. This is Detroit at Green Bay. Both teams are 11-4, and the winner is going to take the division. Both of these teams are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs as of now, but a win and a loss is the difference between a top seed, possible top seed, and a wild card spot. So they're definitely, the winner's going to have a 3 seed at least, considering the fact that the NFC South is going to hold the 4 seed, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the things involving this game. The Lions starting center, if you don't know by now, he was suspended for that stomp on the ankle of an opponent. And so the Lions will be going into this game at a disadvantage at the center position. They're going to have to throw in an inexperienced player. It's going to be rough. And let's just say it like it is. The Green Bay Packers are unstoppable at home. And honestly, I think I've said it before, Detroit has looked vulnerable on offense at times this year. The Packers defense steps up when they're playing at home, and I think they will today. I think they will tomorrow. Sorry. And I think they're going to beat the Lions pretty handily. Hey, we don't even need to say anything about Aaron Rodgers, the way he's played at home. RELAX. If you're a Packers fan, that's what you need to do going into this game. I think you have it. I'm going with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers to outscore Stafford and the Lions with ease and win 34-17. And Madden has picked Detroit to upset Green Bay and win 43-20. Wow. And now that you see the conclusion of this Bengals game that has been simmed before your eyes, and it was a really weird one to watch and frustrating and also involved an injury, kind of like last week, but not as serious as last week. For one, the Bengals didn't lose, a Peyton Manning, and two, the backup came in and threw a touchdown. So it actually helped them. I don't know if I could say the same Madden-wise for last week when Peyton went down for the game. That was a rough one for virtual Broncos. Yeah, that was kind of hard to watch. But, anyways, they lost the game in real life. So what does it matter? Peyton couldn't get it done. What was the backup gonna throw 5 picks? Big deal. Now, anyways, enough of that. First off, a Bengals win and a Broncos loss equals a 2 seed for Cincinnati. I'll be rooting for that. You better believe it, even though I'm picking that the exact opposite will happen. But let's get into why. One thing is, we just found out that Tyler Eifert is going to be out for the season. We're not going to have him for the playoffs. This hurts us big time. People don't know how important Tyler Eifert as a tight end for this Cincinnati Bengals team is. You think Jermaine Gresham's pretty good? Yeah, I do too. But Jermaine Gresham can't block. Jermaine Gresham gets tons of holding calls. Jermaine Gresham tries to do too much when he gets the ball in his hand sometimes. Sometimes it's spectacular. He can run people over. But sometimes he reaches out at the last moment. He tries to do all kinds of crazy things, and he fumbles the ball. He fumbles it way too much in positions where he needs to just hold on to the ball. It's stupid. Why would you do that? And if you watch the Broncos game, he almost fumbled the ball away to the Broncos. doing something stupid like that. So, you know, AJ Green is hurt. He's likely to return, and that's a big plus, whether he's 100% or not, because at the very least he could be a decoy. It's looking like he'll return. I really hope he's going to be at full 100% power, because he is a beast. We already know that. He's huge for the passing game. But unfortunately, I have got to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are a juggernaut offense. Gotta say it. Antonio Brown is one of the best receivers in the game, if not the best right now, performance-wise, production-wise. Le'Veon Bell is probably a top 3 running back. Could make an argument for him to be the best as well. Their offense is unstoppable when it gets going. There's not much else to say about that. Their defense does not look great, but they're at home at Heinz Field, and even though the Bengals have been a road team this year, I just see them going to primetime once again. You know, it's cool to have a Bengals game on Week 17 primetime, but then again, you think about it and you're like, oh, we have Andy Dalton at quarterback, and then you're like, just throw it back to 1, you know, maybe 4, but just leave it out of the primetime spot. Because, you know what, I think Madden accurately predicted something. Maybe not to the exact number they predicted, but they predicted that Andy Dalton would have 5 interceptions thrown against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wow, and you watch the throws made in that. If you were watching some of the picks he threw in the game, and it's just like in real life watching Andy Dalton. You're like, no, don't do it, oh God, and he throws it, and you just why? And that's going to be an issue for them. I think that's going to be the main issue. And it's going to take a performance like we had at Denver, where Jeremy Hill rushes for a 90-yard touchdown. You know, our special teams is consistently putting us into the Pittsburgh Steeler territory to start drives somehow. We're getting pick sixes, defensive touchdowns. We're going to need it all to beat the Steelers, regardless of how well we play on the road compared to home, blah, blah, blah. Also, Madden predicted that Roethlisberger would have 2 touchdowns, 2 picks on 142 yards. I think he's going to be much more spectacular than that, but that's okay. They predicted a win. All that matters is predicting the right team to win. Of course, you've already seen Madden predicts Pittsburgh Steelers to win 17-10. And this is going to wrap up the entire episode. I'm going to, of course, throw the graphic up there that has the total picks. I'm only 1 game ahead of Madden this year so far. Of course, we're going to be counting playoff games, and hopefully by the end of the year, the end of the Super Bowl, I will be still ahead of Madden for NFL picks. So thank you guys for watching this episode of Moving the Chains. It was a lot of fun to do. I'm not sure if it is much shorter than last week's, because I talked a lot longer about the topics. So now you can kind of get an idea of how long the show will be, because we'll be adding about 2, 3, 4 more topics each week. It'll be a little longer, and I'm still hoping to get a debate partner soon. I haven't really worked towards it all, and I'm sorry for that, but it's been busy. It's been a busy week. Hopefully we will get on that soon. But I hope that the Bengals do as well as they did last week, but unfortunately I'm not predicting it. So once again, thank you guys for watching this. Like, comment. This is a big thing. I want you guys to comment and discuss with me. I'll get in the comment section and discuss with anybody who has anything to say with my predictions, my topics. I mean, I'd love to just, talk about it. And, if we have interesting points thrown on the comments, of course I'm going to feature it on the show and whatnot. So, same with picks. If you have a pick sheet, I might feature it on there if I find something interesting with it, or I might feature past weeks' picks if they're impressive or impressively bad. But anyways, thanks for watching for the 3rd time, and as always, peace.